Scuderia Ferrari Edition, the heart of the race.
A good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 6 of the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship here for the British Grand Prix at the Silverstone circuit, obviously one of the most iconic tracks on the Formula SimRacing calendar. My name is Felix van Elft and for today will be your commentator. Obviously, we've had the Academy race already earlier today. I'm sure that was a very exciting and interesting race to watch as well. Now it's time for the Pro guys. 42 laps around this iconic track. Obviously, the Silverstone circuit, not Circuit Paul Ricard. A little mistake there on our end. 42 laps, circuit of 5.891 kilometers long. Obviously has some very nice sections in it. The first couple of corners, the village section. We will have DRS throughout the first corner, so drivers will need to be aware of that during qualifying and during the race, that they don't spin out because they have their DRS open and then lose the rear grip there, obviously. Then coming on to the straights, you have Brooklands and Woodcut, obviously. Then, well, Cobb's Corner, one of the most tricky corners to get right if you go wide a little bit. Easy to get onto the off track. And then Megas, Beckett's and Chapel down the Hanger Straight, and Stowe, obviously also a very nice corner, and the Club Corner as the last corner. Now, obviously for the regular viewers you already know this, but for the viewers that are new to us here at Formula SimRacing, we have our FSR 2019 car, a roughly 933 brake horsepower max with the boost modes, top speed of 370 kph. If the drivers go very low wings, I'm sure we won't be seeing that much speed down the straights here today at Silverstone. But perhaps some drivers go for a bit higher downforce and a bit lower downforce, and therefore a bit higher top speed or a bit lower top speed. We'll have to wait and see what the drivers do, obviously. Then 2 fuel mixtures, lean and rich. That gives the drivers a bit of an opportunity to play how much fuel they want to use during the race, how they want to pace themselves, and where they want to overtake and where they want to maybe save a little bit of fuel. And then obviously also 2 boost modes, the race and the qualifying boost, that will give the drivers a very big advantage during the qualifying session. A lot more horsepower, about 50-60 extra, can be used in the race technically, but if they use it in the race they will most likely blow their engine. If they use it too much, that is. Probably use it for around 10 seconds maximum, otherwise you will not finish the race at all. Now I think it's time to jump straight into qualifying. Let's see who is the quickest driver out on track so far. I probably obviously have to take into account, let's have a look. Kean White at the moment leading the standing sheets with a 1 minute 26.463. pretty quick lap, but the gaps are pretty close to Thomas Satherley and Mark Hutchinson, obviously the leader in the championship here at the Pro Series. Let's see if we can jump on board with a driver that is doing his lap. I think Marek Godek just started his lap, came through turn 1 now, through the village section. This is the inside curb a little bit there on the left hand side, but you want to take a lot of exit speed here because of the straight, and he immediately abandons his lap, so that is his lap already over. Let's see if we can find another driver. Viktor Ivanov starting his lap through turn 1. Can't quite see if he left his DRS open or closed it. Hard braking though. Coming into the village section. Doesn't take a very wide entry line there, so perhaps compromising a little bit. Onto the straight, DRS open obviously. Coming into his left hander, misses the inside apex a bit. It's a bit of a tricky corner as you brake and turn left at the same time. Easy to lock up a tire. Then here the exit is very important. Easy to get a bit of oversteer and a bit of wheel spin and lose the car almost. Now Kopp's corner obviously on the curb, very fast turn in. Pretty much almost flat I think there for Viktor Ivanov. Now Maggots, Beckett's flat through the first part, a little lift through the second, then a downshift to 6th there, onto the power again. And opens up the DRS second sector, 37.5 for him. See if we can compare that to anything. Tom Satherley at a 37.4. So not that far off for Ivanov. Let's see what he can do. He needs about 3/10. A bit of a slide coming into club corner. Now onto the power. Final corner. DRS open for the last part. What's going to be for Viktor Ivanov? 26.713. So moves up 1 position in front of his teammate Ivan Leonov. So good job for him. Still 2 minutes left in this qualifying session. I think Ivanov does not have any attempts left, so will not be getting higher up than 5th at least. Drivers that do have an attempt left are Keen White, Tom Satherley, Mark Hutchinson, Thomas Bach, all on outlaps right now, trying to do their final lap. Now Keen White, let's see what he's able to do in this final lap. Coming through the first corner. Closes the DRS there through the first corner. Braking hard for turn number 3. Ooh, a bit of oversteer there coming out of it. Now onto the power we go. Left-hander close to the curb there. Love field. Opening the power. A bit of wheel spin there. Not the best exit. First exit 24.0, which is not an improvement for him. Now through Kopp's corner. Clean through there. Maggots, Beckett's. What's he able to do there? Bit of a twitch there coming through Maggots. And there on Chapel off onto the grass. Surely that's his lap done and dusted. Yes, parks the car on the side of the road. So that's his lap over. Let's see what Tom Satherley is able to do. He will be starting his lap very soon. Close to the limit of the qualifying session. Only 20 seconds left in which to get to the line. But I'm pretty sure he's safe there. Yeah, starts his lap right now. So there's about 10 seconds to go. Braking hard. That's very wide to the right side there. Tries to take as much exit speed through this section, the arena section, onto the straight. Into Brooklands. Does touch the curb. We've seen other drivers miss the curb there a little bit. Lafield. Again, like we said before, very important corner. Get right. You take a lot of speed through here. Basically all the way down to Chapel. Kopp's corner. Flat. Lose a bit of speed, obviously, due to the friction of the tires that need to turn the car around. Almost flat through Maggots there as well. Little downshift. Goes wide into Chapel. That's his lap done as well. So 2 mistakes there, both for Sadlerly and both for Keen White. But that is good for Keen White. Perhaps Sadlerly would have been able to improve his lap. Ivan Leonov is the last driver in the top 10 to right now finish his lap. Let's see what he's able to do. Decent first 2 sectors and goes up to P4. So a good lap time for Leonov. Ivanov also improved his lap, but doesn't have enough in it to really improve a position. Lost the position to Leonov and didn't improve compared to Wak. Now Mark Behrens, final driver to complete his qualifying. Doesn't improve. Into P16 he goes. And that is the end of our qualifying session. And Keen White on pole position. Great stuff for the Irish driver. Showing us that he has the potential to perhaps fight for the win here. DNF'd already twice this season and finished 5th in the first race at Australia. So definitely a quick driver. Has won races before and surely will be trying to win this one as well, as he's starting from pole position. But it is not easy. 42 laps to go. So he'll have to make sure he gets to the finish line first to finish first. Anyway, we are going to a short advertisement break. We'll be back in roughly 5 minutes time. Make sure to grab a cup of coffee, maybe some water, maybe something to eat, and get ready for 42 laps of the Silverstone circuit here in 5 minutes time.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
You'll let me play?
Yeah, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
Well, I have a hand.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round number 6 of the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship here from the Silverstone circuit. We are about to get ready to race here. Warm-up is almost over. 42 laps around this iconic circuit. I hope you guys are ready. I certainly am. Now let's have a look at the times in warm-up quickly. Obviously they are not always very representative, but at the moment it is Marek Godek leading the timing sheets. Obviously, let's have a look at the championship standings. Mark Hutchinson has been doing very well. Has finished on the podium every single race so far with 3 wins in there as well. So leading the championship by a good margin. With 112 points in total. So Hutchinson doing very well for his team iSim RS Racing. Today though on pole position will be Kian White, who is down in 17th in the championship. He's only scored points at round number 1 when he finished 5th. Now we have a few drivers that are returning. Dylan Scrivens, for example, has only driven Canada so far and didn't drive France, and now is back for Silverstone, ready for his team TCS off racing. As he magnificently crashes his car into the barriers there. Anyway, the tires available for today's race will be the super soft, the soft and the medium tire. It is going to be most likely a, I would say, 2-stop race here. Or perhaps a 1-stop. As the super softs, at least the top 10 has to start on the super soft tires, obviously. So you would expect them to go about 10, maybe a bit more laps. Then they still need to do 30. So we're going to have to wait and see if they do another stop, or if they take the mediums, for example, and then try to go to the end of the race on those. Difficult to say beforehand, but let's see as the formation lap is about to get underway. As we wait for the drivers to line up in their grid slots. If there are any questions for me in the YouTube chat, please feel free to shoot them at me. I'll try to answer anything you guys ask. If you're watching and you think I can do this better, I can also race at this level and want to race at this level, then make sure to head over to formulasimracing.net. Links are in the description, obviously, and sign yourself up and see if you are able to challenge. These driver signups are open all throughout the whole year. For Pro Academy, certainly. Academy is the step-up class, obviously, so if you have no experience in sim racing and are just looking to start out somewhere, Academy is your place to be. For the drivers that are a bit more experienced and would like to challenge themselves, go up to the pro category, and then the creme de la creme, the top drivers can or will drive in the World Championship, which is coming up later tonight, 18:30 GMT. So make sure you tune in for that as well later on. Now though, first the pro race. Let's go through the grid real quick. Kian White on pole position. A very good starting position for the HME Omila Sim Sport driver. Then Tom Sadlerly, who's had a good few races, but not the best yet. Hasn't finished on the top step of the podium yet. Surely he will want to try and do that today. Then Mark Hutchinson, obviously championship leader. Great position for him as well to be in 3rd. Positions to be gained there for him still, but let's see what he's able to do. Ivan Leonov in 4th. Good qualifying for him. Thomas Bach in P5. Viktor Ivanov. Good qualifying for him as well in P6. Marek Godek 7th. Dylan Scrivens in P8. Kostas Galanamatis in P9. Mateusz Koolman in P10. Tom Oldermenger in P11. And we'll also be starting on the medium tire, it seems. João Pitaes in P12, Roemer Tissing in P13, also all on the medium tire. Christian Lazaro, Cameron Roger, Mark Berends, Harry Roslan, Philip Kraus, Harley Hamlet, and then rounding out the field is Luca Burke, who is, I believe, also a rookie driver here today in the Pro Championship. Now, Kean White is lining himself up into his grid slot, getting ready to start his race. Like I've said before, 42 laps at Silverstone. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy circuit. Easy to make a mistake, especially with worn tires. Right. As we await the lights to go on. All 5 lights are on, and we are racing here for round number 6 of the Pro Championship. It's a good start for Kean White as he fends off Thomas Satherley into turn number 1. A bit of hectic coming into turn 2 for some drivers, but it seems to have gone relatively clean so far. Every driver coming into turn number 3 cleanly, and no front wings flying so far. As we see side by side there, Dylan Scrivens and Mateusz Koolman, as Dylan Scrivens comes out on top there, coming onto the straight. As I see an ICMRS driver in the background going off. No damage for him, it seems. Victor Ivanov battling. Oh, a bit of contact there with, I think that was Thomas Wach. Ivanov backwards, but seems to have all his wings attached still, so not the end of the race for him so far, but definitely a very, very unfortunate start for him, as he was in a good position down in P6. Now Thomas Satherley is starting to put the pressure on Kean White, staying close with him. Obviously will want to get past him, but perhaps might need to wait a little bit longer. It's still the first lap. After 3 laps the DRS will be enabled, and then perhaps you might have a better chance to try and overtake him. Now Dylan Scrivens with a good start up to P6 already, and he started in P number 8. So the Portuguese driver showing that he has the pace here, at least at the start of the race. Now his next target will be Thomas Wach, and he'll be trying to get past him as soon as possible, because he's also got Mateusz Koolman and Marek Godek, both Go-Speed drivers, right on his tail, and they will want to take the overtake as soon as possible, as I think Thomas Satherley is trying to make a move into Brooklands. Isn't able to do so just yet, but getting close and showing Kean White already at the beginning stages of this race that he has the pace, and he will want to try to make that overtake. Dylan Scrivens very close to the gearbox of Thomas Wach. Let's see if he will be able to do anything coming out of Chapel, perhaps, if he gets a good exit through there. Important corner, obviously, of this track. Goes onto the grass. That's not going to help him. Now he has to watch out for the driver behind him. Marek Godek not able, or sorry, Mateusz Koolman not able to take action on that slight mistake of Dylan Scrivens. As the field comes around start-finish for the 3rd time to start their 3rd lap. Satherley still close to Kean White. Not able to really make the overtake just yet, but will have the DRS soon. As this opens there for Thomas Satherley. Perhaps a move into Brooklands. No, it's a bit too far back. Everybody sticking close with each other here. A bit of a train forming. The lead pack though, Kean White and Thomas Satherley are pulling away. And I think Satherley might be close enough here down the hanger straight. He gets the DRS. No, it's a bit too far back still. It will be close. A bit of a twitch there from Kean White coming into Stowe. But everything still seems under control. Dylan Scriven still trying to keep close to Thomas Waak. We see Thomas Satherley again trying to make the move, but not able to do so.
Hello.
There we have Cameron Roger joining us in the commentary booth here today. Welcome, Cameron. DNF in the first lap. What happened?
Well, it's actually third lap, but yeah.
Oh, well, what happened?
I just spun on the exit of Chapel, unfortunately.
Oof.
And as you're here on your own, I thought I might as well come and commentate. A bit of a shame because I thought I had quite a good pace today, but that's how it goes, unfortunately. And yeah, it was quite a chaotic first lap. Got up to P10 from P15. But there was quite a few like spins and contact and stuff, so that'll be quite fun in the post-race view. It's good to see Kian White up there, someone a bit different from the standard duo of Satherley and Hutchinson.
Yeah, he's doing a good job so far, keeping Satherley behind. As we see Matthäus Koolman coming into the pit lane for the first pit stop already. Lap 5? Isn't that a bit too soon?
Yes. That's 100% a 2-stop. The mediums may be able to go 30 laps, but not 37.
Right. Okay, so Koolman there going on to the mediums early. Perhaps thought he was a bit stuck behind Dylan Scrivens and Thomas Waak. And decides to go for a bit of an undercut. He has loads of clean air in front of him. The next driver is 7 seconds in front of him, so a lot of room as Satherley and Kean White are side by side coming through Lovefield. Kean defending hard, able to keep Satherley behind so far. Coming into Cops, that's not a place where you usually see overtakes. So Satherley will want to back off a little bit, but if he can keep close through Maggots, Beckett and Chapel, might be able to do something down the Anger Straight. That's difficult with the dirty air of these cars, obviously. High speed through here, a lot of downforce, so the car behind loses a bit of speed. I think he's indeed a bit too far back to really make that move.
Yeah, one thing Ghostspeed have is they got a lot of top speed. I noticed that with Roma, when I was just ahead of him a couple of laps ago, he has very good top speed, and I thought that was the case in the Academy as well, so I have to see if Tom has the same setup and he has the high top speed. Because Netrex work with Oromia, and they generally have, or at least as far as I'm aware, they generally have quite high wings, so I have to see how that works out over the laps. But at the moment, Tom might be just staying there. He's not really in a position where he needs to push because Mark's a couple of seconds back, so he might just be sitting there comfortably.
Yeah. Alright, so Waak is now also pretty close to Leonov, a bit of a train forming behind them. As they still are a couple of seconds down the road of Satherley and Kean White. And Mark Hutchinson trying to kind of be the middleman. Doesn't want to join the group in front. Also doesn't want to get caught up by the group behind. As we see Satherley still close to that gearbox of Kean White. At some point you gonna have to wonder, doesn't it really hurt his tires to be that close behind him? We'll be opening the DRS again. Perhaps close enough to at least make a bit of a look down the inside into Stowe. I think he's trying to do so. Shows himself in the mirrors, but Kean White able to fend him off for now. But Sadly definitely has the pace here to try and perhaps get past Key and White. Obviously, it's also a question of who has the best tire life here, as definitely a bit of a twitch through Abby. Obviously, we have the DRS there open, or well, at least available for the driver, so they have to close the DRS through turn 1. Not forget that, because otherwise you'll end up into the tire barriers like
Gonna have him here, I think. Yeah, I think he's gonna have him here. He's very close. He's gonna be going around the outside. Can Tom Savley make it work around the outside? Kian's defending really tightly, and yeah, Tom just runs out of road. That's a very difficult move because you almost have taken 2 apexes, and it really tightens and kinks back on you. And that second part where he just had to miss out on this occasion, but there's still plenty of time for him to find a way through. I think he's potentially fighting this a little bit too hard, considering they've got 1.5 seconds behind them, but maybe this is what he's trying to do, trying to get Kian to destroy his tyres defending.
Yeah, exactly, or forcing him to some sort of mistake. Keen White has won races before. I believe 2 in the Pro or the second tier, and also 2 in the Academy, or the first or the lowest tier in Formula SimRacing. So he has the track record that he's able to win races and has the pace, but hasn't been able to really show it so far in this season, and also has had a bit of troubles previously on consistency, but showing that so far he's doing well, keeping Sadly behind him.
A couple of people who have been a little bit disappointing in this race so far anyway is Christian Lazaro down in P9. He had that awesome race back in Baku. He's down in P9 for the moment. And behind him is Marek Godek, who has the... wait, or did he already pit? No, it's Coleman pit. Yeah, because he obviously has the same setup as Sadly, but he's not quite up there at the moment.
Yeah, interesting to see what Coleman is doing. Coleman last lap, if I can see it. No, I cannot, so that's fortunate. Anyway, he is about 6 seconds behind Ivanov. I think that was about the same gap as it was before when he came out of the pit, so not gaining a lot on those medium tires compared to the lead pack. I have to take into account that pit stop isn't that long here in Silverstone, because you cut a big part of the track coming into the pit lane.
Oh, who's that? Oh, Sadly's pit.
Oh,
Sadly has made a pit stop already. So he is possibly looking at a 2-stop strategy, though 33 laps might be possible, but he'll be very slow at the end. So I think this could be looking towards a 2-stop strategy for Sadly.
Yeah, definitely not a very aggressive strategy here from Ghost Speed. Or it is, if they do the 2-stop. If they go for the 1-stop, it wouldn't be logical to do an aggressive strategy, but let's see. He comes out right behind Ivanov, so doesn't have a lot of clean air. He catches up to this pack in front of him. Has about 4 or 5 drivers that are pretty close to each other and will also be battling, and he's obviously battling for position still, so might lose a bit of time compared to Key and White if he decides to stay out longer. We're just gonna have to wait and see how the lap times really compare after a lap or 2, if Kian stays out. Now also another battle, Thomas Waag, Dylan Scrivens, still going on. Dylan has dropped back a little bit, gap of about 1.5 seconds between them now. But Waag has been able to stick with Hutchinson and Leonov, who've lost a lot of time to the lead group as well.
Yeah, they've actually caught up Kian a little bit. So Kian's tyres possibly are wearing. I mean, we're not going to see the tyres go too much past lap 10, maybe lap 12 for these super soft tyres, and we're already starting lap 10 now. So these drivers will be starting to feel the effects, unless they've been kind, obviously. But I'm thinking about lap 11 or 12 is where most of these guys get to pit. I'm talking about pitters, we've got Godek and Galana Matis taking the medium tyres for both of them. This is quite good from Thomas Vack actually. It's his debut in the Pro Championship. I don't know if you mentioned that earlier, but he moved up because David Mocek has moved up to WC for ACR Blue. So Thomas, who was looking good, was promoted to Pro from Academy.
Oh, Phil Kraus and Harley Hamnet going side by side of Lovefield there. I think that is, yeah, Phil Kraus side by side through Cops. That's never gonna end well. And there we see Hamlet, sorry, going side by side now with ground effect. No, stays in front, but lost the position there to Phil Kraus with a bit of contacting Cops there. So aggressive driving doesn't always pay out, but I think they went through it pretty cleanly.
Harley's going to be under attack now from Luca Burke. This is, I think, Luca Burke's only his second race this season, and he's having a nice good fight here with Harley Hamnet coming down into the final chicane. And actually, João Pateas out of nowhere has gone for a dive, but hasn't quite managed to make that, which actually brings Arif Roslan in play as well. But we're probably not going to be seeing any overtakes into turn number 1, but it's how you use that DRS to stay close for an opportunity down into turn number 3. João hasn't done that very good because he's gone over the grass and is going to be under attack now from Arif Roslan, who is now under attack from Tom Savley. So this is Tom Savley trying to make the moves through these slower, or arguably slower drivers who have not made a pit stop yet, and this is quite crucial for his race if he is on that 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, it's what I said earlier when he pitted. He's got to get through this pack, but they're also battling each other, so definitely will be losing time compared to White, I think. Lap time wise, sadly, obviously, when he's still at the 3R last lap, did the fastest lap, about 1.5 seconds quicker than Kean White. But let's see what this lap is going to be. First sector is already half a second slower compared to White, so it's difficult to say. It's probably going to be very close at pit exit if Kean White decides to pit in the next 1 or 2 laps.
Yeah, I think it's one of these races where, oh, who's that in the background? Thomas Vack goes into the pit lane. But I was just going to say, I think it's one of those races where the 2-stop, you probably have better lap speed, but with a 42 lap race, it's hard to make back a whole time worth of pit stop. So as we saw last time out in Paul Ricard, David Mocek did a 1-stop and he was like 20 seconds up the road because no one could catch that 20 seconds back from making a second pit stop. So it is probably worth staying out and pushing the tyres a little bit further, losing a couple of seconds now, that you don't have to make up 20 seconds later on in the race.
Alright, Savili now still stuck behind Pitajas. Pitajas is defending. Obviously his teammate Mark Hutchinson is also in the battle for the top 3 positions, obviously. Ooh, as Savili goes up the inside, it's never gonna end well. Of the arena section, coming onto the straight. It's a difficult spot to put your nose in. You're allowed to, of course, but they're spinning João Pitajas around. The race to its hand to decide about that later on.
That looked like Pitajas' thought he just got wheel spin on the exit, which pushed him into the path of Savley. Unfortunately, so he is spun around. He's now second last with Marek Godek.
Griffins and Vaak went side by side for a while there, I think.
So yeah, Scrivens has now made his pit stop and is back there with Thomas Vack as well. And Scrivens was actually behind, so he has made a move there during the pit stop phase.
Yeah, good stop for him.
And the leaders continue once again. So it looks like they are definitely
for them.
Oh wow, Roma is already in 4th place on those medium tyres. I know a couple of people made a pit stop, but if he can keep this up, that'll be good for when he goes onto the faster tyres towards the end of the race.
Last lap of Sadly, by the way, 32.7. Kean White, 33.3 this lap. Now let's see what this lap, 33.7. So it's... Sadly is not much quicker than Kean White, so... It's going to be interesting. Hutchinson, though, is caught up to the back of Keen White. Keen is dropping the pace here at the latter parts of his first stint. Maybe also saving a bit of fuel. But I think it's just tires starting to wear off. Perhaps trying to go for a one-stop strategy. Having to go long on this first stint. So we can do a bit less laps on his second stint. And as long as the gap exists to Sadly, I guess it would be worth it.
Yeah, I can't predict when these guys are going to come in, because it really is just a battle between them as seeing who is going to stay out the longest. Because as much as you'll get an undercut, you pit early, it will help you later on in the race. And Mark and Kian both go in. So this is their lap, end of lap 13. They have 29 laps to the end after this. So that should be just about doable for the mediums. So let's see what they go on to. Kian goes on to the mediums, and so does Mark. Yep.
Hutchinson has a bit of a quicker stop, it seemed. Close on the exit. But
all the pit stops will be the same. Give or take maybe a couple of tenths because of how they break into the pit box. But where do they come out?
Right.
Oh, Hutchinson almost gets
Scrivens, I think.
Hutchinson has got undercut by Scrivens and almost his teammate. And Kian White now is actually battling Dylan Scrivens as we come around this turn 4. Kian's trying to push him out. That's a little bit naughty, but pretty much fair game there. But Dylan will now have the DRS. Oh, so does Kian. Kian got it from the back markers ahead of them. And Dylan's now going to try and go round the outside of turn number 6, but he can't quite make that. As I said earlier, it's very difficult to stick it all the way around the outside there. So that's Kian keeping his potential lead of the race. And now Dylan Scrivens is under attack from Mark Hutchinson. So Dylan is going to struggle a bit more to get to the end of this race, but he does have the track position for now.
So the gap between Satterley and White is a bit bigger than I thought. About 4 or 5 seconds, I think.
Yes, that's basically just the undercut.
Yeah.
We saw this in the Academy race earlier as well. Jan Woznica stayed out, and he was miles behind. It was about 5-6 seconds.
Drivers 3 wide through Stowe. That's never going to work well. Harley Hamlet spun around into the barriers there, loses his front wing. Not sure exactly what happened there, but I think a few drivers were involved. Hamlet can go into the pit lane still, so that's, I guess, the best place to lose your front wing. Very close to the pit lane. Oh, and Phil Kraus also spun around in P5 in Abbey. Maybe didn't close his DRS there coming into the corner. Very big spin for him. Surely his tires aren't gonna like that.
Yep, you're correct. He kept his DRS open just as he turned in. And some cars might be able to do it, but most people will have to close their DRS, and unfortunately for him, he didn't. Luca Berg now just up the road, battling with Arif Roslan side by side through Luffield Corner. This is actually such a good corner to go side by side, because the person on the outside has to go so much further, and now they're going to be battling up into Copse Corner, who will have the balls as they go into one of the fastest corners on the whole calendar, and is actually Arif Roslan who keeps it around the outside, but they're still side by side just about now. He pulls in, Luca pulls in. But he's now got Phil Kraus right behind him. As they come down this hang straight, we've got a nice little battle from all these medium runners on this back straight, but no one can really make an overtake on this lap. And Phil Kraus now goes into the pit lane because he probably lost quite a bit of tyre wear by spinning. Because that's one thing with these tyres, if you spin you will lose quite a lot of wear.
Yeah, obviously a lot of heat generated in the tyres as you spin. Rubber just wears off. Probably also a bit of a flat spot for him, as Sadly is now trying to get past Mark Behrens in P4. Mark obviously hasn't stopped yet. Sadly effectively leading this race at this point in time. Has to do at least one other pit stop, we think, as he goes side by side into Brooklands. Left field. Behrens is still there with his nose. Who has the best exit? Savali with the fresh tires, but Berends is able to tuck into the slipstream. Perhaps able to do something coming into Kops. Or around the outside, that's never gonna work. Sadly, he has to compromise his line a little bit, but has the fresh tires, obviously, he is able to stay in front of Berends there.
And in what is effectively a battle for second place, we now got Kostas Galanamatis, who I think he hasn't stopped yet. He's getting involved with Mark Hutchison, who's losing some time now to who's it? Dylan Scrivens just up the road.
Pretty sure
they're all
Kostas
in this.
split. I think he did, like, pretty soon already. Lap 9 or something.
It's just I can't remember where he came from, but maybe Dylan and Kian have got past him. So Mark is now going to be very close. As we said before, a move into turn 1 is almost impossible. It's not quite long enough to that point. Was Kian... Who's that? Number 14, Coleman. This is Matthias Coleman fighting with Kian White. And Kian, they both have DRS actually, and Kian's going to go down the inside into Brooklands. That's a very tight move, but that is a very good move from Kian White. Goes a little bit wide, manages to hold that position. Now Dylan Scrivens is going to want a bit of this as well. Going to want to pounce. That's Kian White now. He's got a buffer to the cars around him. And Tom Satherley got a little bit of a gap to these guys now, about 5 seconds or so. But he's still going to need to make up another 10 or so more if he wants to make a 2-stop work.
Right, a yellow flag in sector 2. I think it's Harley Hamnet. Let's see if I can find out what happened there. Hamnet, yes, spun around without the rear and the front wing. So another car involved, I think. Mark Berends, perhaps. No, he's still driving. Not sure what happened. Let's see if I can get a quick replay. We go on board with Hamnet. Did he spin on his own? Yep. Went into the grass on the straight and spun into the wall. Alright, interesting. That's a long time since I've seen that.
We got a battle for second place. Tom Oldermenger and Christian Lazaro. Tom actually manages to get past down into Cop's Corner. They had a fight all the way through sector 1. And Tom has finally come out on top. Though obviously this is more for net sort of 8th or 9th place at the moment. Well, Dylan Scrivens is off in the background there, trying to have a fight with Galanamatis. So I think that was actually him just going off on his own. Kian White has also got past Luca Burke now, so this is really good work from Kian White playing with the traffic. He's getting a good gap to the cars who are effectively behind him. Good race so far from Kian White. His first properly good race of the year. He's been quick, but he hasn't quite had the pace yet. And there's contact there between Coleman and Luca Burke coming to that final chicane. I think it was Coleman looking for a bit of a move. And Dylan Scrivens going wide again. Twice in one lap he's gone wide. He might have another move here with Roslan in front of him. Have to see what his top speed is like though. Roslan will actually have DRS from Mark Berends. But he doesn't want to be fighting these guys too hard. Doesn't want to be wasting his tyres. And Mark Hutchison looking for a move on Kostas in the background. Side by side through Luffield. This will benefit the person on the inside, but then Mark should get a better exit. Coming up into Cop's Corner. He's actually a little bit too far away to make a move. Now Kian White has got past Arif Roslan. up into Cop's corner as well. Oh, and who's that? Someone's engine's died. Luca Burke's engine has died already on lap number 19. That's a really early time for an engine to explode. He must have been using too much of that quali boost. Try and make or defend some positions. And Kian White now is going to be going up the inside of Mark Behrens. And that is another move for the Irishman, who's done some good overtakes in the last few laps, and he's now well ahead of his rivals.
Coleman and Gadelamat is there side by side coming into club. Bit of wheel banging. Hutchinson now might take the opportunity as he got a bit closer. Coming into turn number 3.
One thing I noticed, Hutchinson isn't using DRS down the start-finish straight or turn 1 and 2. I remember before the race he was saying that he didn't like the fact that there was DRS there. He was obviously just taking the safe game to try not to crash. Now we've got Ara Frosland coming around the outside of Mark Behrens to make up a space, which is giving Dylan Scrivens a nice opportunity. Potentially up into Cops, although he doesn't quite have the traction. But does he have the top speed along with the slipstream? Looks like he does. Maybe use a bit of quali boost here as well. That's going to be up the inside for Dylan Scrivens. Can he make that stick? Yes, he can. Up into P7. So Behrens isn't giving this one up just yet. But he has to concede eventually. It's a very interesting race with these medium tyres, because we're already on lap 20. So the ones who started on these medium tyres will be starting to think about a pit stop. Not just yet, but maybe 5 or so laps they'll be thinking about coming into the pit lane. If they want the quickest strategy, they might need to stay out for a set of super softs at the end, though tyre wear is higher on the heavier fuel tank.
Yeah, Sadly is now caught up to Christian Lazaro in P3. Probably about to make that overtake on him as well. The gap between him and Kian White is about 7 seconds right now. I guess if Sadly wants to make another pit stop and Kian White doesn't, he would have to stretch that gap to around 15 seconds.
Costas is going to be having a look at Mark Behrens up here, up in Brooklands and now Luffield. This could give Mark Hutchinson an awesome opportunity to make an overtake on one of these if they have a little bit of a clash. With Costas is still going to... Oh, that is tight. Mark squeezed him right up against the wall and he has to back out. And this is putting Hutchinson also in prime position to take advantage potentially down this back straight. And we've got the ghost speed behind him of Matthias Coleman as well. And this is really losing Hutchinson and Scrivens time to Kian White, who's got a little bit of a gap up the road.
Yeah, remember, Kian and Hutchinson pitted pretty much within, I don't know, half a second. Now Kian is at least 3-4 seconds up the road, if it's not more.
So Behrens is in, so this is released Hutchinson, and would have possibly given DRS as well down this main straight, so we will see. We will see how this works out over the next couple of laps. But for sure, that traffic played into Kian's hands. He made the moves and took the opportunities when he needed to. He's now quite a few seconds up the road. He's about 6 seconds up the road from Hutchinson.
So now it's waiting really for the first medium drivers that started on the medium tires to see who's going to pit first. This thing leading that group. His gap to the leaders of the race sadly is about 8 seconds. Keen White, about 14
Mark
seconds.
Hutchinson up the inside of Galanamatis into Stowe. Corners side by side around the apex. And they're giving each other plenty of racing room. This is some good racing. Hutchinson then backs out of it, not going to make the move on this occasion. One thing about Roman Tissing running this, leading this race so far, he had a good race here last year as well. After not the best start of the season in the Breslin Grand Prix car that he was racing back in at that time, this is what the race that really turned around his season, and then eventually he did his move to Ghost Speed, which is where he's getting some nice results now. But this is the race last year where it really turned around for him, so he's certainly a specialist at this track. And looking at the what he's doing right now, he's going to have definitely a good chance to get some top level points today, later on in this race, despite starting outside of the top 10. Sadly, he's actually about 10 seconds ahead of Mark Hutchinson now. Such is the traffic and the way the pit stops worked out. So if Sadly's thinking about a 2-stop, he could possibly sneak onto the podium, depending on how the pace comes over the next 10 laps and when he makes that pit stop, if he does. But considering he pits so early, we are expecting another pit stop from him. And Arif Roslan is really causing some issues for trio of Galamatis, well, it's actually a quad now, Galamatis, Hutchinson, Vak and Leonov. He's still yet to make a pit stop. Actually, Galamatis is going to be having oh no, he's just trying to make himself nice and big. Going into Cop's corner, actually that puts off his line a little bit, and that's going to make it a lot more difficult for him to make an overtake down the back straight, the hanger straight. He's dropped off a little bit there, so that wasn't the best from him. You have to try and make a move on the next lap.
Sadly into the pits. Left on a 2-stop for him. Let's see where he's going on to. He'll be rejoining. Where's it gonna be? Well,
another set of the mediums. Wow,
18 laps. I guess he did about 18. Distant.
Okay.
15 even, so struggling for tires, I guess. Ghost Speed R here. Definitely has a bit more clear air than he did last time around.
Well,
but he's behind Leonov, behind Wack. Hutchinson is about 6 seconds up the road. With 18 laps to go, it's going to be difficult for him.
I think the way it's worked out and how much time Hutchinson and co lost, I think this might be able to work for him. But if Tissing, his teammate, can do 25 laps, still hasn't pitted yet, and then sadly only did 18 laps, I would assume he's pushing quite hard. I would not count Sadly out. He did this in Baku, I think it was as well. He was behind Lazaro, couldn't overtake, he pitted, caught up, and then managed to overtake Lazaro. So, oh yeah, looking at the speed, he's definitely going to catch up these guys. So this could actually be quite a good move from Sadly. But we will have to see how that plays out. Roma is in the pit lane. Who was your race leader for the time being has made it so he's gone to the soft tyres, and that is 16 laps to go. And he's come out in 5th place, so this has worked out really good for Roma. He's undercut all those guys on the medium tyres, and he's now on the soft tyres as well. So that was a blinding bit of strategy from Roma. He's got himself ahead of Galamatis, Hutchison, Leonov.
Yeah, even in front
and they
of,
are all going to the end.
Yeah, in front of Sadlerly as well. His teammate who was leading the race.
Yeah, very good strategy from Roma. He's obviously a specialist around this track after having good performance last year, like I said. So if he can make these tyres last to the end, he should be able to pull a gap and possibly even challenge Scrivens.
Yeah, I think so too.
So this is actually a net P3 because Lazaro and Aldermenger still need to pit.
Indeed.
This is the strategy that I was thinking about doing as well before I unfortunately crashed when I was ahead of Roma, but that is how racing goes sometimes, because for a one-stop you definitely want to have soft and then medium to make it easy, but if you start in the top 10 you have to use the super softs, so that is obviously in his favour. And is that Galamatis making a pit stop as well?
Yeah,
yes, it is.
Was early into the pits the first time around, so also early in the second time.
Yeah, we'll see if this is the super softs, but I don't really see why he's pitting now if he's taking super softs, because he's... Oh no, he's on mediums. Oh, okay. So he's obviously doing the Sadly strategy of just pushing on those mediums.
Scrivens, woof. Very close to the wall there. Coming out of the village section onto the straight. Now let's do the 3-point turn.
Oh my! So this is net P2 for Roma now.
Yep, Scrivens definitely destroying his race there. Down to P12 now when he was in P2.
Ooh.
Ian White leading the race with 5 seconds to Lazaro and about 7 seconds to Rumer Tissing. And compared to Sadlerly, 11 seconds. So big gap between them. And if Keane isn't pitting again, he's on a very, very promising run.
Yeah, Keane worked that strategy really well, but he was pushing a lot. So, as we saw in the first stint, he dropped off a little bit at the end of the stint. So, he needs to try and make these tyres last. But he's got that gap now, that's the important bit. He's got about 8 seconds or so to Roma, and he has even more to Hutchinson. If he can make these tyres at least last most of the way, when they start fading in the lap time, he has that buffer behind him to drop into. I think Keane actually won a pro race last year, although obviously pro was the 3rd division after the renaming this year. He obviously has good form around this track as well. And Lazaro made a pit stop on that lap. He's now down to P11. So this puts Roma legitimately in P2 and Hutchison in P3 after all the pit stops have taken place.
Somebody trying to go to Ivan Elov. Very close coming up to Kops there, but not able to make the move. Can keep close here through the twisty bit of the track. Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. Very quickly into Beckett's there. Loses a lot of speed out of Chapel. That's definitely not going to help him. Savary in a very difficult position right now. I guess he doesn't know if the drivers in front of him are going to pit. If they are not, he definitely has to get past them. If they are, I guess he needs to be a bit patient. But in 6th with a gap of 11 seconds to your rival in P1 is definitely not a good place to be in.
Yeah, there's only 13 laps to go in this race as well.
Yep.
If he wants to gain the race win on track, we are assuming that Keane is going to the end, so if he wants to get it on track he needs to be a second a lap quicker, which is probably not going to happen. So I think P3 is probably the best he can hope for at this moment in time. Maybe P2 if Roma wants to help Sadly in the championship. Sadly is obviously fighting for the lead in the championship, and as I said, I'm just going to get the results up so I can just double check the numbers to make sure they are correct. But yes, Mark Hutchinson is leading the way with 112 points from Davin Mocek, but he's obviously left. So in P2 technically is Tom Sadley on 86 points. So Tom has quite a way to go to catch up Mark Hutchinson. It'll be interesting to see if they do some team orders, if that comes to the point where Roma has the time to give the position to Tom Sadley. So when did Hutchinson pit? He pit end of 13. Sadly pitted end of 24. He's got 11 lap younger tyres. That is really going to help him as we come to these latter parts of the race. It looks like he might be making a move here on Thomas Vack actually, because Ghostbeard has some pretty good top speed, and as you can see here, waltzing past even with Vack having the DRS himself. Can he make it stick? Because Vack's trying to keep it around the outside, and he's done a pretty good job of it. Yeah, he's making Sadly really work for this. Good job to Thomas there. These guys obviously fighting in the Constructors' Championship as well, and Sadly is going to have to go big move around the outside of Cops. Can he make it work? No, he's not. He's going to pull in. That is a smart move. The ISIMRS are leading Ghostspeed by 48 points with 9 races to go, so about a third of the way through the season. About 40% of the way through the season after this race. But with Roma and Sadly getting some decent points today, it's just going to make that championship even closer.
Ooh, a bit of a wiggle there from Walk coming through Abbey. Maybe close the DRS a bit too late. Now Sadly is close again, coming down the straight, but Walk will have the DRS from Hutchinson in front. It will be difficult for Sadly to get close enough, perhaps. Slipstream still helps him a bit, of course. Not enough coming to Brooklands.
Yeah, I think on that last lap, Sadly used some quali boost to because their top speed was, sorry, the overspeed was a lot bigger last lap. But he needs to be careful because you can only use it a couple of times in the race. Otherwise, you will do what Luca Burke did and have your engine explode on you. And especially when you're fighting for a championship, you can't really afford to get 0 points. Or Sadly pushing so much.
He's been pushing through those corners a lot. Pretty much every lap I've watched him go through there. It never really gives him, well, enough speed down to Chapel. A bit of the nature of the corner, obviously, but maybe wearing his tires a bit too much. He's obviously got the pretty fresh tires, so is able to push them a bit, but sure, it's not the best way to do those corners. Anyway. He's very, very close coming into turn 3 around the outside. No, it will be switch back. He needs a good exit. Walk doesn't have that much of an exit coming out of. Ooh, fuel spin, suddenly turn around, almost. Ooh, that's a bad, bad sign for Thomas Sadley. He loses 2 positions as well to Ivar Leonov and Tom Ondermenger. Pretty much Sadley's chances to catch up to the lead group of Tissing and White pretty much down the drain.
Yeah, that. I don't. With 11 laps to go, it's probably a bit too much risk. at that stage from Tom Satherley, considering he has 11 laps to overtake 2 cars. So maybe a little bit too much risk. But he's obviously pushing hard, but he's now lost 6 seconds to Thomas Fack. So we'll just double check that when he crosses the sector line again, coming out this corner. They now need to overtake 4 cars. And yeah, he's 5 and a bit seconds behind. They should have the pace.
Scrivens and Pita, I saw you going side by side through cops there. Much a battle of the people in last place. But still a battle that's enjoyable here. Scrivens coming out on top.
It's unfortunate for Scrivens after that spin. Down in 15th place, but points do go down for 15th place. So he would get at least 1 point today if he stays where he is now. Okay, so last lap. Roma was actually 1 second quicker than Kim White, but he's still 5 seconds off. But if he's 1 second a lap quicker, in 10 laps he can certainly look to make a move towards the end of the race. In fact, Roma pretty much had the best pace there was in the top 10. The only people quicker were people who've just pitted outside of the top 10. So Roma could still be on for a win today. He actually had some very good pace, I have to say. Yeah, I'm just looking at his medium stint. There's some very good lap times from Roma at the beginning. Game where he qualified.
Yeah, Team White now starting to pick up the pace a little bit more as he just did his personal best sector 2, but with 5.5 seconds of a gap and 10 laps to go, if he's even half a second a lap quicker, he'll catch up to him.
Is another half second that lap, but it's funny that you say he did a personal best in the middle sector, because that was still a 10th slower than what Roma did. So that just shows you the pace that Roma has, obviously on a step softer tyres. Fastest lap of the race last lap, Tom Sadley, a 1:29. First 29 of this race, most people doing high 30s or 31s. He's now caught back up to Tom Oldermenger and Ivan Leonov, who passed him after that spin. And he's actually, that's opportunistic down the inside of Tom Oldermenger. And,
Bit of a lag
Thomas,
spike, I think,
yeah,
there.
but on my screen it didn't look like there was any contact. But Tom Oldermenger has lost his front wing, so that is a weird situation for him. He's not going to be happy about that one. And yeah, his car's done. Yeah, his car is done. He can barely get around the corner. So I'm gonna quickly see if I can get a replay on mine, because to me there wasn't any contact. So let's have a look. It was Have we had? That looked like it was actually server lag. Yeah, that's weird. There was a spike on the server, which caused some non-existent contact. Oh no, the rear wheel was just touched. That's very weird. Very weird. Unfortunately for Tom Oldermenger, he's now going to be at the lower end of the points, but it seems everyone else is going just fine at the moment. And Satherley, I know he's a bit too far back on this occasion, but he's right in the DRS of Leonov now. And Tom, sadly, is he going to have a look down into Copse Corner? I think he is. He's turned on a little bit of Q-Boost, and he's got the inside line, and he's made that move on Ivan Leonov. So he's back up into 5th place, but he still needs to get about 3 and a bit seconds to catch up to Thomas Fack. And Tom Oldermenger, after that pit stop, is now 16th and last. So he's not even going to be in the points at this moment. So what lap time does Tom do this time around? Roma was another half-second quicker that time, and sadly did a 0.4, so he was even another half-second faster than Roma. So he's still got the pace in those tyres, about 6/10 quicker than fucking Hutchinson ahead. So, well, we've got 7 laps to go, so he can definitely still make these moves work, but he's going to have to really push, and it'll be a last lap overtake of sorts. Roman's going to have a massive lap here over Kian White as well. He's gone about 7/10 quicker so far in the first 2 sectors. And sadly with a personal best, so these drivers are really starting to push, these 2 Ghost Speed guys, as we get towards the end of this 6th round of the Pro Championship. And yeah, 9/10 of a second Roma got. So he's definitely going to be there as we get towards the final laps. Tom Alderminger, after that accident, is now going to be close to getting the final point of this race behind Mark Behrens, who seems very slow in a straight line. I think Tom could be able to get this point, although that is just consolation, having been in a good position to get at least 5th or 6th in this race, which is not bad from the TCS off guys. They are in their debut season in Formula SimRacing. They got teams in Academy and the Pro Championship.
Missing this lap, closing in again. So far already about half a second quicker this lap. Still 6 to go. 5 to go now, I think. Maybe 6. No, 5 to go. And the gap is 2.3 seconds. So it's well doable, but it's gonna be close at the end of the race, definitely.
So sadly again another half second quicker as well. He is now 2.5 behind, so that's another 5 laps he's going to need. So sadly, he may not be able to make this work. But the rates that Roma's coming in, he should be able to have at least 2 laps to overtake Kian White. Sadly, is going to need the 2 Isomaris guys to drop their pace off. And again, it's a good debut here in the Pro Championship for Thomas Vack. Obviously working with the ICMRS team, good team, has really helped his debut season here. Further down, Tom Alderminger did manage to complete that move for the last point, but he is 55 seconds off the lead. That's a sad day for him. He won't be able to get any more positions either because Dylan Scrivens is 20 seconds up the road. Roma only got 3/10 on that last lap. Kian is starting to speed up his laps a little bit. Kian was actually quicker than Hutchinson and Vac on that last lap as well. There's obviously just judging this gap to try and hold him off.
Galanamat is closing into Roslan now. Fight for P9 in the race. Galamatis is on the harder tire, but I think he is on those not as long as the Roslan is on his soft tires of 13 laps. And Galamatis 12 laps on the mediums, so I guess that is about the point where the mediums would be a bit better pace-wise compared to the soft tires as they start to drop off. Now Tissing, about 2 seconds between them, between him and the leader Cian White. Cian White last lap wasn't too bad, only 2/10 slower than Rumer Tissing.
It seems the pace of Roma and Sadly has dropped off a little bit. They're not gaining the same rate. However, Hutchinson and Back did actually do personal best Sector 2 and Sector 3 because the fuel level is coming down and the mediums are quite consistent. If you do stay out long enough, the lap time gain from losing fuel will overcome the lap time loss from the tyre wear.
Galamatis got past Roslan there pretty easily down the main straight. A good move for him. Now, let's see Sadly, Walk, Hutchinson. The battle to look at for now. Still 1.5 seconds between Tissing and Cian White, but Tissing's tires are starting to drop off now. I think 14 laps on them. Still 3 to go. 2 to go actually. So it's gonna be difficult for him. If he doesn't catch up within about a second in this next lap, I think it's gonna be very difficult for him to make the overtake. Sadly though is now within a second of Thomas Vaak.
Will he make the same mistake again though? He obviously has less laps to do it this time. And he spent the last 10 laps pushing, so his tyres aren't going to be quite as nice as they were. Or Roman's going to be possibly in the DRS on this lap as well, so we could see a last lap overtake from both of these Ghost Speed cars.
Alright. Beverly, go back a little bit to the second sector. Now has a much more grip through.
Roman's got DRS.
Gets back. It's Rumer does indeed. Sadly wide again through Chapel. Has to watch out there. Does have the DRS now. Let's have a look at Tissing. Fight for the lead here. Fresher tires for the Ghost Speed driver.
Onto the last lap as well. So this is a last lap battle between Roma and Cian White. Cian has won, I think, 2 races already in this championship where Roma hasn't got a win in FSR at all, and he's only got a handful of podiums. This would be a great result for Roma if he can make this work, and he's going to be very close coming onto this Wellington straight. And we know the Ghost Speed have the top speed as well, but is this going to be the move for victory? He sees a bit of quality boost there. He's going to go down the inside, but Cian defends that very well. And Roma has just really one more opportunity. Sadly, isn't really close enough, so let's stay with this battle for the lead. Roma has half a lap to try and make a move on Cian White. Oh, he loses a bit of time.
He loses
a bit of time
through this section if he wants to make any overtake. If he doesn't get close enough out of Chapel, I think it's done for him. Keen White doesn't have the best exit there. Might be doable for Rumour if he gets a good slipstream. Perhaps has a bit more boost left. DRS is open around the outside, perhaps into Stowe. Side by side still, coming into Stowe. Rumour just slightly ahead, and I think that's the move done on Keen White. Rumour Tissing seems to be winning here. Just 2 corners to go. Only the last corner. Don't spin now. As he comes across the line to win the 6th round of the championship in the last lap. Last sector overtake there for Rumour Tissing. Amazing race for him and takes the win. Sadly, wasn't able to get past Wach or Mark Hutchinson. So he finishes in P5 when he started the race in P2. Disappointing race for him, I would say. His strategy definitely didn't help him. And in the contrary, also his teammate, Rumour Tissing, his strategy worked wonders and won the race because of it. Amazing stuff for Tissing. Winning his first race, I think, here in FSR.
Yep, he only got a couple of podium, or maybe, I think he only got 2 podiums last year in Pro, and 1 podium so far this year. And where was he in qualifying? 18th.
Yep.
18th in qualifying. That is an amazing race from Rumour Tissing. He should be very, very happy with that. I don't think Kian was too happy about that because he left the race straight away, which is unfortunate for him because he led that race for so long. But starting in the top 10 where you have to push those tyres a bit longer using the super softs, where Roma had obviously those soft compound tyres at the end, really, really helped him. And Keane shouldn't be too disappointed because he still did a good race, but not quite his day today in Silverstone.
Yeah. So I guess it's about our cue to start closing it off for today, or at least for this championship today. Well, amazing race for Tissing from P13 up to P1. Not done very often in the Formula SimRacing Championship. The strategy very, very powerful, medium and then softs, but obviously very good management from the tires, also from Tissing. Anyway, World Championship is starting in just over an hour's time, 18:30 GMT. Make sure you tune in for that. Obviously, the battles there will be even more fierce. Will be even more tense. Simoncic on for his 6th win of the season, perhaps 6 out of 6, who knows. We will be there again for commentary, me, Felix van Delft and Cameron Roger. For the Pro Championship, it's been us here, and we would like to see you back in just over an hour's time. Until then, good night.